Let's talk a little bit about goal setting. Hey guys, and welcome back to Tipharot for another episode of My Mastery. It's me, Matt, and today we're going to talk about setting goals and how vital it is to your progress. So, there's a lot of kind of debate about whether it's good to set goals or not. A lot of people say it's a bad idea because you kind of set these expectations for yourself and then you feel like demotivated if you can't fulfill them. But that's what happens when you set unrealistic goals or when you set too many goals for you to work on at once. So I'm going to give you a simple strategy that you can use to set some realistic goals for yourself today. And by writing down these goals, you're then going to envision yourself as being able to achieve them. You're going to realize that you can achieve them, and because you know exactly where you're aiming to go, you're going to be able to actually apply that and make it happen. So first of all, I want you to get your journal out, and I want you to find, some space wherever you are in your journal at the minute, and I want you to think for a moment, where would you see yourself 3 years from now if everything you did went the best way it possibly could? If, monetary obstacles were put out of the way, if you managed to make enough money to do what you wanted to do, if you were doing the things that you love, if you were being successful, and if basically everything went the best it could possibly go based on what you're doing to get there. And I want you to think about where you could be 3 years from now. I want you to think where you'd be living. I want you to think what you'd be earning, how much roughly, how much money you'd have, what you'd be doing for a living if you're running a business maybe, or maybe you're working somewhere, whatever it is. I want you to think about what your daily routine would look like, what kind of clothes you'd wear, what your body will look like then. All these little things, like what car you will drive if you drive a car, or whereabouts in the country you'll live, or what country you'll even live in. All these things, plan it out, just write down all these things that you'd like to have in 3 years and that you feel that you could have if you worked your hardest and everything went absolutely the best way it possibly could in 3 years' time. Now think about it, 3 years is a long time, so you can accomplish a lot in that. I mean, in the last year, my life has turned from somewhere way down there to somewhere way up here by my standards, and everything can change in a very short period of time, and so I want you to keep that in mind when you're writing this. And what I want you to do, before you actually start writing this, is I want you to take whatever you envision for yourself in 3 years, and I want you to increase that slightly. If you envisioned a lot for yourself, and you set your standards really, really high, then increase that by about 25%. If you thought you'd have $100,000 in the bank or something, then increase that to 125,000. And if you set yourself a kind of medium, like hard but not impossible seeming goal, then double it. And if you set yourself a seemingly easy goal, then quadruple it. The reason that I'm telling you to increase these goals further is that as humans, we have really low standards of what we think we can do. We seem to really kind of go hard on ourselves. We don't realise what we can accomplish until we actually go out and do it. To give you an idea of this, I wrote down a series of things that I would like to accomplish within the next 3 years on a bit of paper back in October, so a month before I started this channel. And within 3 months or something like that, I'd already completed 75% of everything on there that I estimated it would take me 3 years to do. Think about that. Let that settle in for a minute. And I was putting fairly high standards on what I wanted to achieve. So, I mean, that's pretty great. And so I want you guys to do that. I want you guys to increase your goal a little bit further, and then I want you to write it all down in your journal. Write down every little last bit. Don't leave any details out. Leave everything in, your ideal body weight, your ideal clothing, what possessions you have at your house, what furniture you have, what your house looks like, all of this. Write it out as if you're telling a story about what your life is going to look like 3 years from now. And once you've written it out, I want you to take this and rewrite it in first person. And while you do this, I want you to imagine, just let yourself go off into conscious fantasy for a minute and imagine that you are that person, that you've come through those 3 years and you've actually achieved it, and you're amazed that you managed to achieve it after, wanting it so bad, and you've got all these things now, write it all in first person. Write a letter to your current self from your future self, telling you how grateful you are for all the things that you've got now, 3 years later. Now, some of you who have my ebook might actually be familiar with this already, because this is actually one of the 4 steps in my ebook, part of one of the 4 steps. And what this does, when you actually are able to consciously envision yourself, years in the future, it kind of solidifies in your head that actually this is a reality that can happen. These aren't just some lofty goals that are never going to get accomplished. I can actually see what my life would look like with these goals completed. I can see a possible journey or route that I can take that will lead to that place. Once you see that, your subconscious can kind of just go bam and, work for you and actually help you to get these things. So write those goals down, then write a letter from your future self to your, present self in the first person, in the present tense as well, as if you were actually there 3 years from now. I say to do this in the present tense because this allows you to consciously kind of get involved with the idea as if you are that person 3 years from now, to think how that person would think. And that might actually give you some insights as well onto the things that you need to be doing if you want to make those goals achievable. And what I want you to do is then to take this bit of paper, and every so often, you can do it before bed, you can do it other times, whatever. I want you to actually read before bed the letter from your future self, and when you read it, I want you to really feel that you are that future self, that is you 3 years from now, and you're just reading this letter. You've managed to travel through time 3 years from now to write yourself a letter, and now you're reading it in the present, but you are that future self. You've just come back 3 years to go through the motions again and achieve those things once again. And when you start doing this regularly, you'll get familiar with the mindset of that you 3 years from now that you want to become. By doing that, you're going to start to become more like that person, and that's going to speed up your progression towards those goals. It's going to motivate you to actually get them done, and it's going to give you a clear picture of the path that you need to take to get where you want to be. So do that now, and thank you for watching this video of Mind Mastery episode 7. I hope you've enjoyed. If you did, then remember to subscribe up there, because you've got regular videos that come out every Wednesday and Saturday. If you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, or you want to share some of your goals, do that in the comments below. If you want to keep watching, check out the video linked on screen. And thank you once again for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Mind Mastery. I'll see you again in episode 8. Take care.